just have not edited
Finally! Okay, we're back. I think. It said reconnection successful, so hopefully we're good to go. Who knows how long this will last. So let's just go... Oh, you're kidding me. Am I still here?
yet. Why do I have 1 bar of self?
Phone's going off now. Yes, I know I'm live. Thank you.
Oh god, you're stuttering in and out. Oh my goodness, no, this is terrible. This is god awful.
Why?
I blame Potato Master.
It's Musket now.
Musket. Yeah, I blame Musket.
I take it this is not any better.
Talk.
It says it's on red, then yellow, then red again, then red.
I think we're good.
Oh gosh. The podcast on my laptop is like not loading past 6 minutes. So hopefully the stream is active. So you know what? We're just gonna start talking and hope things go from there.
I told the gnome that we're podcasting right now. Come watch it. So let's hope. Why is my internet being stupid now? What the heck?
I don't know, but apparently the live stream went away and now it's back again or something. The stream turned off and live chat was off.
Yeah, the stream turned off, and the first one was 2 hours 2 minutes and 53 seconds. The second one's up right now, and my phone's just failing to load it.
Yeah, my laptop won't load it either.
Oh, cool. She's I will be right back. My mother needs me. Hopefully everything straightens itself out. By the time I get back, I'll be back.
We good? I think we're good. It might be good. Let's hope we're good. Alright, so if you can make out words that I'm speaking, and don't worry about a visual because when I'm live streaming, the lag is always so bad that nothing makes sense. But if you're here and you're watching the stream, hi, I'm back. I'm tired, but I'm back. And I apologize for not streaming or podcasting or really doing anything for the past month. It's been a really long and painful month of figuring things out and doing a bunch of things, and my life's kind of somewhat getting back together again. So I've been taking care of a lot of real life problems and issues that needed to be taken care of, as well as made some new friends and did a whole bunch of other stuff. So like, yeah, fun. But I'm back now, and hopefully we're gonna do this every other week instead of every week, because every week was kind of difficult for me to do, simply because of the way my life is running at the moment. But we're back, and we're here to stay. So today it's just me and Demon Slayer, because Musket was going to be with us, but had to dip out literally as my mouse was hovering over the stream button. So it's just me and Demon Slayer right now. Musket might join us later.
We will force him to. We will drag those across the highway, and yeah, he will be here eventually.
At some point. Hello, Farmer. But today, so you've probably read by the title that it said the not May the 4th Star Wars talk. Well, that's because this podcast was originally planned for May the 4th be with you, National Star Wars Day, but unfortunately
They're
I
forgetful
completely forgot about it, and this is the one I did forget about. The others, there were complications, but this is the one I literally forgot about, and I was like, well, oh darn, we were supposed to do this tonight, weren't we? So we're doing it now, and I apologize for not doing it on May the 4th, but we're gonna do some major Star Wars talk in light of the past National Star Wars Day. So, yep, that's the plan for today. And, hopefully, everything will run stable. It looks like it's running stable now, so I think we're good to go. So, the first thing on the docket is to kind of explain, some of the things that, went down in Star Wars to people that do not know anything about Star Wars. So how do we want to go about explaining how Star Wars works to people that have never seen it?
It's a good, an amazing question, actually. I don't. It's a good question. Good. I can't tell you. I don't know.
We've been Star Wars fans for too long. We don't know how to explain it. All right, so let's see if I can do this the best way I can think of doing it.
Star Wars in a galaxy far, far away with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away with politics and space knights and robots and aliens and a good power struggle of who's going to control the galaxy, yada yada yada, politics stuff, and now we're here. Yeah.
I guess that works. No, wait, this is story. So yeah, basically there's lots of space politics and fighting and magic,
fuel issues.
abilities.
Don't forget, there's a lot of fuel issues now.
A lot of what?
Fuel issues. Fuel is a thing.
Fuel?
Yeah, remember? Yeah.
As in, like, gas?
Fuel! Remember, Star Wars is this whole huge thing that were fuels in it. Remember how, like, The Last Jedi functioned? They were running low on fuel.
Oh, yeah, flip that.
They didn't have enough fuel to make another hyperspace jump for whatever ungodly reason.
Yeah, that was just kind of odd. But, I mean, whatever. So,
Wait, in the series prior, but, whatever.
It was never shown in anything. So here's how we're going to start this off. We're going to give a brief summary of what happened in all of the original 6 Star Wars movies, starting from the prequels up to Episode 6, and then we may get into some stuff about the ones that Disney has released. Then after that, we're going to get into a bunch of Star Wars lore from the Legend books and some of the other things that we've also taken a look at, or that I've been doing a crud ton of research into, because I'm a massive Star Wars nerd, and I learned a bunch of stuff. There it is. So, the first thing we're going to do is explain Star Wars Episode 1 as best we can. So, Star Wars Episode 1, or The Phantom Menace, takes place, in a galaxy far, far away, as they all do. And there is some, there's 2 Jedi Knights, and we're actually, should we explain the faction kind of thing between Jedi and Sith and all that stuff before we get into this?
We can, although at this point, well, yeah, we can, because I know a good few people who actually aren't Star Wars fans. I was going to say, if you're not a Star Wars fan, then, that sucks. But, yeah, I'm not going to be like that. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and, explain it.
Alright. So, the Jedi, what are they? The Jedi are an elite peacekeeping unit of people with the ability to wield the Force. And what the Force is the Force is kind of this ability to manipulate things and move stuff with your mind, and you can do different things with it that are, like, ability-wise. Like, it's a very spiritual kind of power. There's no real way to completely explain the Force other than it's an ability that you can do a crud ton of stuff with, and it also is caused by tiny life forms called midichlorians. And midichlorians exist inside of everything, but you have to be Force sensitive to access their abilities. Now, there's two sides to the Force, which is the light side and the dark side. The light side of the Force is used by mainly by the Jedi, who are the peacekeepers of pretty much everything. And the Jedi go back millennia, even before space travel, before really everything. And I'm out of torches. That's not cool. There's... What?
Oh,
Oh.
no, someone text that. Feel free to text in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat, watching that, answering questions, whatnot, yada, yada, yada. So if any of you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them. We will answer them. We are monitoring and watching. We are trying to make this as interactive and fun for y'all as possible. So please, feel free to talk to us. Let us know what you...
Alright, so that pretty much sums up the Jedi, without revealing too much of what happens later. Then there is the Sith, which are the users of the dark side of the Force. And the dark side is a very evil and twisted form of the Force that, is highly frowned upon in many different places. And I mean, no derp, it's evil, and no one wants that evil stuff running around the galaxy. So,
why no texture for the lava? I just have to ask that question.
I don't know. This texture pack hasn't been updated to 1.14 yet, and for whatever reason, flowing lava was apparently never done, because it has, like, normal lava, but it doesn't have flowing lava. It's really weird. But, lanterns are a thing now. These are kind of nice. Anyway, the dark side of the Force allows for a more angry... it's fueled... Okay, the dark side is fueled by anger and hatred and confusion. So those are the three things that really define the dark side of the Force. And it's darn it, the child got in. He has to die now. The child got in the house. Get off the bed. Get out of my home! I will not have another child stealing my pork chop. Come here, small bearded one. This is not okay. Stop running. Why are you so fast? Okay. Back to the Star Wars discussion. So there are actually Jedi that can use the dark side of the Force, and there are Sith that can use the light side of the Force. So it's not completely unaccessible, it's just frowned upon the certain abilities, because there are abilities that are associated with both sides. Now, there is a third faction in all of this that never appears in any of the movies or anything, but does appear in the actual canon of Star Wars before Disney took it over, and that was the Grey Jedi. Now, they are called Jedi, but they are not actually Jedi, as in the sense of good or peacekeeping. They are Force users that don't fit into either category because they don't follow the same religious sets of rules that the Jedi or Sith have in place. So
Yeah.
most of them use abilities that are frowned upon by both sides, in fact. Like, even the dark side users don't go as far as to use these abilities, or light side users are highly concerned with with this problem. Oh, flip. You're right. Darn. I did kill the child, and oh, sadness. I can't name them all now. So I'm stuck in a door. So that takes care of the 3 factions, or the 3 main factions. There are actually a few other force-using factions that exist in canon, but we'll get into those later if we have the time to. By the by, this podcast is actually going to be a lot longer than the others were, because we have so much stuff to cover, plus we're making up for lost time. So,
as I'm sitting here, I realized it's not popping up in the way I was trying to view it, so I have to like pull out the laptop. But well, it's okay. It's all good. This will be fixed.
What?
No, I was saying I was supposed to be monitoring the chat. Well, the way I was originally going to view it, it's just not popping up. It's just like non-existent. I'm like, well, all right then. Time for me to find another way to do this.
So now I can explain the Phantom Menace with a little bit more backstory to it and whatnot. So the Phantom Menace takes place relatively close to... I don't have a timeline set up because that's the one thing I actually forgot to do for this little podcast, is I should have designed or written up a timeline based on what I know from canon. But I will try as best I can to explain this. So, episode 1 starts off on a planet called... Actually, no, it doesn't. It's been a while since I've seen episode 1. I don't remember how exactly it starts, but I know enough to explain a thing. So, episode 1 follows the main story of 2 Jedi and a few other characters that are really important to the story, trying to get this boy who is said to be the Chosen One to... Okay, essentially, you know what? I'm just going to do this. So the 2 Jedi are Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is before Obi-Wan was really, really powerful. So Qui-Gon Jinn is currently one of the wisest Jedi ever. He's even on par with some of the highest in the Council because of his experience in battle and in life in general. He knows a lot of stuff. He's very, very smart. So there's this prophecy of one who will bring balance to the Force, because the Sith are starting to rise again, and the Jedi have foreseen this dark time ahead of them. So everyone's out looking for the Chosen One. Well, one day, the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, their ship breaks down, and so they have to land on a planet while protecting a senator from Naboo, which is a really cool planet that kind of looks like Earth, but it looks like, if you've ever been to...
A lot bigger.
What?
It's a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's way bigger, and there's a lot of mountains and cool oceany things and water, and there's all sorts of fun stuff. But, so they're protecting the senator from Naboo, and they were on a diplomatic mission. That's how it starts, the diplomatic mission. But they were on a diplomatic mission, and their ship breaks down, so they have to land on a desert planet called Tatooine, where they need to fix their hyperdrive unit. Well, they have a ship that's so fancy that none of the places on Tatooine can supply the hyperdrive unit that they need. Or the parts, at least, to fix it and the other things. So they go looking for parts and stuff, and they come across this small junk shop where a boy and his mother live under slavery, because slavery is still a thing on this planet. Well, they're not necessarily treated badly.
Not black. People out there. Equal rights, equal fights.
Yeah.
You can be slaves too.
But they're not necessarily treated badly. It's just still frowned upon, the fact that they are slaves. But the boy in particular has an extremely high midichlorian count that is off of the charts, and what that means is that his force abilities are insanely powerful. So he's force sensitive, but just doesn't know it yet, as he's never actually done anything ability wise, other than he has this really good intuition when it comes to piloting things or fixing machinery. Like, he's extremely good at it. So there's an event on Tatooine called pod racing, which isn't really Tatooine in general, but it's not considered dangerous on Tatooine, so it's not outlawed. But pod racing is a sport where you sit in this little pod thing, and your pod is pulled by two massive turbine-style repulsor engines, which are hover engines.
It's basically jet attached to the front of your like hover car, basically.
Yeah. And so you're in. He decides that the prize money, or they see that the prize money is exactly enough. Actually, it's more than enough to get the things they need for their hyperdrive unit to return. So, the boy, who is Anakin Skywalker, and I'm sure that's a name everyone's heard, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you've probably heard this name somewhere. So, Anakin Skywalker he agrees to fly to race to help them get the money they need. And his mother's a little against it, but after he explains himself, they're finally like, alright, cool, let's do this. So, he enters the race, and the race happens, and they see how strong he is in the Force, and he wins the race, and they get the money, and then they actually decide to take Anakin with them to learn how to become a Jedi. Well, the Jedi have a really strict rule about their age limits for when you can start. Typically, when you start as literally an infant. They come and pick you. They look for force-sensitive children, and they come and they take these children to their temple, where they train them to become Jedi from pretty much birth.
It's as cool as this sounds. It basically is child abduction. They come in, tell the parents their child is force sensitive. We're going to take them away to be a Jedi. The parents can refuse this, but usually they don't. The child doesn't get to see their family for a good while, and
they almost never get to see their
children.
family. Very rarely do they ever know who their true parents are. But it's really a little sad. But it gets somewhere, and there's a reason that they do this. And that's actually explained throughout episodes 1 through 3, is the reasoning behind this whole not letting them know who their parents were and stuff. So, Anakin is a lot older than 3 years old. Typically, the limit is 4 and older is the ones they don't teach. Well, Anakin is about... I want to say he's around 11 when this happens.
Yeah.
He's around that age. So, he's always dreamt of becoming a Jedi. Even though he didn't know he was already Force sensitive. But, Qui-Gon Jinn is, extremely... He really wants to teach this kid, because he believes that he's the chosen one, and that he'll bring balance to the Force. So... what he does is he actually, he convinces the council to let him take the kid and train him. And, blah, 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 blah. They're really against it at first, but once they actually test him, they see that he's incredibly powerful in the Force. And they allow him to become a Jedi in training. And that's pretty much a summary of what happens without all of the major plot lines in Episode 1. But actually, Anakin does make this connection with the senator that they were protecting, who is Padme Amidala. And they become close throughout the story.
Really weird romance that forms. This kid's 11. She's like in her late teens, early 20s,
Yeah.
basically.
At this time,
And
Padme's character was around 17, 18-ish years old. So that's how that went. And blah, 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 blah. Trying to think, is there anything else that's really important to the story other than? Oh, yes, there is actually. So at the closer to the end, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, they go to Naboo, and the Sith actually sent someone to kill them because they're bad and they're mean and they want to do that. So they send another Sith in training, kind of. He's an apprentice to the Sith Lord. And they send him to kill everyone. His name is Darth Maul, and he uses a really cool lightsaber design that I love. And if you've ever heard me talk about the fact that I use a bow staff in real life, this is where that comes into play, is because I saw this in Star Wars when I was little, and I was like, that looks like fun. So he uses a double-bladed lightsaber, and a lightsaber is literally as it sounds. It is a laser sword. But anyway, that's not important. What is important is they have this really epic lightsaber fight between the two Jedi and this one dude. And interesting fact, the guy they got to play Darth Maul in the movies is actually a professional sword fighter in real life. So that is why the fight actually looked as cool as it did, because all of those stunts were done by the actor himself. None of it was edited at all, at least to my knowledge. I could be wrong on that, but from what I've seen and heard, that's my understanding of it, is that none of it was edited. It was all done by him. Anyway, so they fight with Darth Maul, but Obi-Wan gets cut off from Qui-Gon and Darth Maul by this kind of energy barrier thing that has something to do with the machinery in the area they were located in. And because of this, he was unable to join the fight, and he had to watch as Qui-Gon Jinn was killed right in front of him, and he couldn't do anything about it. So once the energy barrier actually deactivates, he takes on Darth Maul in this kind of furious, rage-like combat. And this is another area where the dark side can come into play. He didn't succumb to the dark side, but he used a bit of its... I don't want to say he actually used it, because it was never implied that he did. I think he was just angry.
Yeah, he was just extremely angry, which is something that's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah. So he was really angry, and he actually chopped Darth Maul clean in half. Like, clean cut, right in half. In the midsection. 2 halves. 2 perfectly cut halves. Cannot stress that enough. Half. Anyway, so he had to watch Qui-Gon die in front of him, and this... Oh, flip, I fell. This actually set him on the path to becoming a Jedi Knight, because he wanted to do his master justice. And he agreed to take on Anakin as his apprentice since Qui-Gon was gone, and Qui-Gon was originally going to do it. So it's now up to Obi-Wan to train Anakin, and then that's pretty much the end of episode 1. So, do you want to give the summary for 2?
Hang on.
I have literally been running around this village non-stop since we started. I'm pretty sure you guys are tired of that. So I'm gonna find a thing to do.
I say, I could do the one for 2. Let's see. All right, chat. What are y'all thoughts? Questions, concerns, anything? Let us know. Feel free to speak in the chat. The chat is there so we know things, people.
Boing.
Waiting till I get some sort of feedback, because I'm just like...
Makes sense.
Some feedback would be nice.
2 is a relatively weird one, though. Because, as I remember it, 2 was kind of that weird thing between Anakin and Padme.
Yeah.
That really had, like, no... It had an explanation, but it was a little overdone, in my opinion, just for the movie. But
Like,
at
I
the
don't know.
same time, it's
I
still pretty
feel
good.
like explaining these is okay, but at the same time, I'm like trying to make sure this is interesting to people. So like, I'm trying to wait on feedback, but I appear to be getting none. Let me refresh this really quick just to make sure.
I've got nothing on my end.
That's why I just refreshed it.
What is behind me? Oh, that's a cow. Hi, cow. I need your beef. Beef. Hee hee.
Just refreshed it. I have nothing.
I say just go ahead and do it.
All right then. Well, so for episode 2. Episode 2 starts off with Anakin and Obi-Wan coming back to Coruscant, which is the planet where all the Jedi are. What was the reason they're back? I don't really remember.
They were back because at the beginning there was that assassination attempt on Padme's life, but her decoy was killed instead, and so she wanted a security detail. And the Jedi were not wanting to give us a security detail, but Chancellor Palpatine ordered it anyway.
Alright, so assassination attempt on the senator from the first movie. Her decoy was killed, and so she ordered a bodyguard. And, yeah. The bodyguards that got sent in were Anakin and Obi-Wan. They return. Anakin gets super excited, and, thanks to puberty, hormones kick in. He's super excited to see Padme. They see her, talk to her. It's a weird hormone exchange, awkward puberty conversation between two people who haven't seen each other in years.
Take into account that
yeah,
by this time, Anakin is in his teens. He's at least 18 or 19 by this time. And Padme is in her late 20s.
Yeah. This is just a thing. It's really awkward, really weird. Anakin, they wait. She goes to sleep, and another assassination attempt happens on her life. Obi-Wan jumps out a window. Anakin follows behind the little speeder, which is like a flying car, effectively. And yeah, they go. They hunt down this assassin. This assassin is killed by some unnamed assassin in a helmet with a jetpack. Whoever could this be? Well, she's killed, and they go looking. Obi-Wan goes to try to find out where the assassin came from. Come to find out, his search takes him to a planet called Camino, where he discovers that there is a clone army being made, born, created, built, whatever the word you want to use for it is, for the Jedi. And so, yeah, that's the thing. It causes a big sort of stirring and uproar in the Jedi Council, while meanwhile, Anakin and Padme are in this island vacation planet thing on a weird cliff having another awkward conversation. They're in a field of flowers. We learn that Anakin doesn't like sand because it's coarse and rough and gets everywhere.
I don't like sand.
And it's coarse and rough and it gets everywhere. But yeah, so that's one of the weirdest, most awkward, and worst lines in a movie ever. But yeah, We got it. It was weird. It was awkward. It was terrible. But it's there now. But anyway, um, yeah. So they end up having some fun, meeting up, uh, doing the nasty as some teenagers do, young adults do, who are in love. You know. We come back, and I want to say, if I remember this correctly, like he has like a conversation. Well, after this whole entire ordeal's over and Anakin and Padme come back, he has a whole conversation with Obi-Wan about attachments and not getting too attached to people, because attachments and emotions cloud your judgment. And yada yada yada, blah blah blah. They Anakin's sort of like trust in the Jedi Order is shaken due to his confusion and confliction with all of the attachments, no attachments, him liking Padme, but it's against the Jedi Order, which is something that he cherishes and holds deeply. It's his like moral code, what he lives by. But like, he's having issues now. So then it's just weird. Onward to episode 3, I think. Yeah.
Nope. There's still a lot. So
I don't know. I feel like that was a decent summary of episode 2.
That was a summary of everything that happened with Anakin, other than him having I'm on fire. Him having nightmares about his mother, who they left behind on Tatooine because she was still a slave, and the slave owner at the time did not want to sell both of his slaves. Plus, the Jedi only had a little leftover money left to buy Anakin anyway. So they bought his freedom, and that's how that happened. But he actually has constant nightmares about his mother, and that is a kind of result of his strong connection to the Force, as it's kind of a foreshadow to something that's going to happen later. But while all of the stuff with Padme and Anakin is going on, Obi-Wan is actually tracking a lead on a rogue Jedi named Count Dooku. And he goes to the planet Geonosis, which is essentially another desert planet, but it's more similar to Mars in the fact of desert than sand. It's got a lot of mountain ranges, and it also has rings, so it kind of looks like Saturn. But that's also not as important. So he actually goes there, and they discover that there is a droid army, and droids are the word they use for robotic things. So there's a droid army that is being constructed for the Separatist, which is the it's a diplomatic faction. There's the Republic and there's the Separatists, and essentially it is understood that the Jedi serve the Republic, and the Sith are more associated with the Separatists in their shady dealings. Is how I can explain that. So they go to Geonosis, or he goes to Geonosis, and he's actually captured by Count Dooku, who he then learns is no longer a Jedi anymore. He is definitely on the side of the Sith. And they actually send a rescue party after him. So Anakin is part of this rescue party, and he and Padme actually get captured by the natives on that planet, which are the Geonosians, which are these little bug dudes, and the bug dudes actually want all of them to fight in gladiator combat. So they put Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan in a gladiator ring against these 3 monsters, which one's a giant blue crab-looking thing, the other one's kind of like this rhino, but with 2 horns. And then the last one is like this tiger with the face of a spider that I absolutely hate because he doesn't have the face of a spider. He just has a lot of eyes, and it reminds me of a spider, and I don't like it. He's actually a really cool creature. Anyway, so they're fighting in this gladiator like combat thing, and they get their lightsabers, and there's a whole bunch of epicness, and then they escape. Well, just as they're about to be overpowered, suddenly a crud ton of Jedi actually pop into the area. They all come out from under cloaks and stuff, and they're like in the stands, and they all ignite their lightsabers, and it's really cool because you get to see a bunch of Jedi and different alien races and really cool stuff. So these Jedi all pop out.
Really cool fight scene. Definitely makes that movie worthwhile to watch.
Oh yeah, big time. It's like epic. So then a bunch of them are fighting. Well, eventually the droid army is unleashed. And they fight really hard. I don't actually think a lot of them. I think only like 2 actually were confirmed dead in that in the actual gladiator arena.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of deaths after this, because I will explain. I'll just keep going. So what happens is, as the droid army is unleashed, they're surrounded. But just as they're about to all die, and all hope seems lost, a loud kind of engine sound is heard from overhead, and then all of a sudden just laser fire is unleashed upon the ground. The clone army that we talked about earlier actually comes into play here in the Republic side. And the clones are, they're everywhere, and they come down and they save everybody's butts, and it's really great. But sadly, that victory is kind of short-lived, I guess you could say, as when they start to all escape and stuff, the droids relentlessly pursue them and blow a bunch of them up, and actually a lot of the Jedi did start to die at this point. I want to say 4 were confirmed dead at this point. So that's 6 total that I believe died.
Metal Time.
Yes.
Let's see if there's a way to make this a little bit more interesting. Because according to the chat,
yeah, I
this
just
is
read
not
it.
this. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I can say this. It's great. I say go watch it because, yup. Episode 3 happens. You learn that Anakin is the bad guy.
It's good to watch, especially if you like. Even if you're not like, you don't seem to be a huge Star Wars fan, I still would say watch them. They're not all terrible. The first 3 are a little weird and awkward, but granted, it's all right.
Yeah. So
We'll do a movie review on all of them, where we get like a brief summary and an explanation of reasons why we like it, why we don't, whatnot.
All right. So what's your favorite part about number 3?
The gladiator.
No, that's number 2. I mean number 3.
Oh, number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3. I'm not quite sure.
I'm gonna say my favorite part of 3 was probably the sheer amount of
Could be
droids
fun.
that was in it.
You know, my favorite part, as cliche and as normal as this is, it's gotta be the ending fight between the 2 of them.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, that was one of the best lightsaber fights they had. Let's see.
Let's see. Let me go. I'm going to you do some explaining. I'm gonna go call Musket. See what he's doing. Hold up. Yeah.
Explain.
Hang on.
Right.
I don't know. Not explain, but entertaining, I guess is the better word. Give me one, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'll try to see if I can get in contact with Musket and see what he's doing.
Okay. Entertaining. Let's see. I can do this with my mouse. That's entertaining, right? Anyway, So let's see. If we're not gonna explain the review or the breakdown of the movies, we could get into some more technical stuff about things that are not well known in Star Wars, like different things about alien races and different things about some technology, because there's actually a crud ton of this stuff that's really interesting in my mind, and it actually would make a pretty good topic of discussion for not, I don't know how to word this. We'll get into some fancy technical stuff in a sec. Actually, let me go ahead and start pulling some stuff up, because I have a bunch of this stuff actually saved on my cellular device about some really cool Star Wars stuff. The first thing would be...
Okay, I'm back.
What did you say?
No answer.
Oh, okay. Figures. We'll try and later.
We'll criticize him and chastise him for it later.
Alright, so here's what I've decided to do. We can do some explaining of some things that are not well known in Star Wars, like rare alien races and technology and stuff, and some of the stories from the books instead of the movies.
We could try this. And, alright, chat, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything about that after we get started, let us know. Yeah. You're gonna have to, like, kick it off a little bit, because
Yeah,
books and whatnot, I could, but I still don't even...
I have a bunch of this knowledge saved up in my brain thing. Alright, so I'm actually going to... In order for you to understand what I'm about to tell you, you do need to know some of what happened in episode 4 through 6. So I'll give a very, very brief explanation of that. Anakin and Padme in episode 3 did, the fun thing. And Padme was pregnant and had 2 children. They were twins. Luke and Leia, who are both Force sensitive, but they don't actually know their siblings, as they were split up at birth, and Padme died and Anakin became Darth Vader. That's pretty much somewhat common knowledge at that point. So one thing I will say is Luke is Force sensitive, and he kind of has always known it. And then Leia is Force sensitive as well, but does not know it until well after the movies actually finish. But Luke is... by the time of episode 4, Luke and Leia are both in their very, very early 20s, probably like 20 or 21 years old. And Leia actually gets captured, and Luke is assigned to... he joins this little thing to go save her, and then they meet, and they find out they're siblings, and all this crazy stuff happens, and Luke becomes a Jedi, and the Jedi and the Sith were thought to be extinct, but they're not, and because Luke brings them back. So after episode 6 happens, which is Return of the Jedi, it is implied that Luke went off and started his own Jedi Academy. And in the books, the Jedi Academy, Han Solo, which is this crazy rogue pilot dude who's like one of the most popular character. What does what mean? Sorry, I may have said something that I didn't explain.
What is that? That is the very broad word. Give us your best attempt at spelling said word.
While we wait for a response, I will say, did I just leave off?
Force.
Oh, force
sensitive.
sensitive.
I don't. How did force sensitive?
I might have cut out or something. Force sensitive is the force is this kind of like manipulative ability. It's associated with the mind and spiritual energies. It allows you to do. It's kind of like having superpowers.
It's the life force that flows through every living thing.
Yeah, that's how it's explained in canon. It's a life force, a universal life force that's supplied by tiny organisms, and certain people can access abilities that are granted by the organisms.
If you've ever watched like Dragon Ball or Naruto or anything having to do with life energy, or like vast majority of animes in general, they always have some sort of version of like life energy that can be controlled. And so yeah, that's what it is. If you martial arts actually, like kung fu specifically, talks about controlling your chi and like your own like body energy and whatnot. It's effectively the same thing as the Force. The Force was like derived from that.
Pretty much. So, where did I leave off at? So Anakin, they had Anakin. No, not Anakin. Han Solo and Leia get married and have 3 children, and this is before Disney owned the rights to Star Wars. So this was all what I grew up.
Was it 3?
What? Yeah, it was 3. Jaina, Jason, and Anakin.
Yeah, Anakin.
Yeah, the youngest one was named Anakin. Actually, he never went to the dark side. He was the good Anakin. Jason was the one that went to the dark side, and I'm actually this is some of the coolest part in my opinion because of these 3 children. This is known as the Solo children's storyline. I usually call it the Solo trilogy. Is how I refer to it. But I really wish Disney would have kept this because this was like the coolest stuff in my mind. That could have ever happened in Star Wars, and no, they completely botched the idea and went with whatever the heck they have now. So, what happened in the Solo trilogy is these 3 children grew up, and they were taught how to become Jedi through Luke, who had his new Jedi Academy. There were some other Force-sensitive children that were in the Academy as well, but they're not as well known, at least to me, because I didn't pay much attention to it, and it's been a long time since I've read any of this.
Unimportant. We're just leaving to that. They're unimportant.
Yeah. But the three children actually are extremely force sensitive. Like they're crazy strong. And Jason in particular is like super strong. He actually At this time, Luke is the strongest anyone's ever seen a Jedi become. Luke is insanely powerful. Well, Jason is actually on par with Luke at this time. They both have the same equal amount of power that can be offered in... they both have the same amount of power at this time, and they're incredibly strong. So Luke actually takes an interest in Jason and tries to teach him the best that he can. So Jaina and Anakin, they just kind of do their own thing. From my understanding, most of the time is they just kind of go with whatever floats their boat. They're not bad, and they usually just go around helping people. And that's pretty cool because they're really strong, and that's what the Jedi were all about, was helping people. And to see these 2 characters go off and start helping people again was pretty neat. I'm literally just foraging at this point because I don't know what to do for visuals. So you guys are just gonna, I guess, watch me go and punch grass. But anyway, so Jason. Fast forward a few years later to when these 3 children are older, and they're pretty much adults at this point. And Luke is still pretty powerful. He's crazy strong still, but he's getting old. And he actually changed the rules of the Jedi to where you could have marriage, you could have personal connections with people, you can do all this stuff as long as you keep it in check. So he actually did get married, and I think he had a child. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. But I know he did get married. I know that much. So I don't remember what exactly happens, but I do remember Jason was pulled to the dark side of the Force through some kind of temptation or something, and he becomes the next big bad guy in the story. And it's sad because he had the potential to be legit the strongest thing to exist. But he sadly went to the dark side, but even still on the dark side, he was still insanely powerful. He was crazy flippin' strong. He actually was able to beat Luke in a fight, to both of their surprise. Now, some of the Force abilities that were known at this time, and these are actually going to define how powerful these two characters were. So, Luke was always known for being extremely strong in the Force sense-wise. He always could kind of tell what was going to happen. He knew what was going to happen before it happened. He was able to sense things that no one else could. He was very, very powerful. Not to mention in his offensive abilities, where he was actually a master of lightsaber combat, as well as he had Force abilities like he could create an astral projection or a Force ghost. He could also use...
Whoa, that was weird. What the heck? Alright then.
What?
I think my Discord glitched out for a second, closed and opened again because you were talking, and then just silence. And I went to unlock my phone, and Discord just wasn't there. And then next, I locked my phone, opened it back in.
So, basically, he also had the ability... He was really strong against Force Lightning, and Force Lightning was Emperor Palpatine's most used and known Force ability because he felt that it channeled pure hate in a form of elemental energy that was really hard to combat. Well, Luke was actually extremely resistant to this, and because of that, he was actually similar to Yoda, which was the Grand Master of the Jedi, and also Luke's teacher. And Yoda had the ability to resist Force Lightning as well, and actually absorb it and redirect it. And this also went for other abilities too. He could absorb other forms of Force energy. And Luke actually, I believe, was able to carry this ability, or he also unlocked this ability as being one of the most powerful Jedi ever. As well as, there was something I saw a long time ago where he was actually able to die and then come back to life through the Force, whereas not in the Force ghost sense of Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Yoda, where they were kind of little blue ghosty outline people. He actually, I believe he died physically and then was reincarnated into his own body through the Force or something, and the light from it was pure light Force ability. There was something that happened, and there was a bunch of gold glowy light things, and yeah, I'm actually gonna go mining. That is a fair point, because I've been running around way too much. But I think he was actually able to die and then come back to life, in a sense. I don't necessarily remember
mining
how
or
that
building?
worked. What?
Start mining or building something.
Yeah, I just saw that. Ooh, scary minecart sound. I'm going mining because I do need to actually get a bit more iron. So Jason, on the other hand, actually had the ability to stop time with the Force. He was the only known Force user to ever stop time to such a degree that he could affect what happens outside of the bonds of physics and stuff.
You could stop time because the Force is weird and extremely overpowered, plain and simple.
Yeah, I think the only people that were resistant to this was Jaina and Anakin. But sadly, Anakin actually died a little before some of this happens. I think... I know Anakin died. And then I know Chewbacca's son died protecting Anakin, and then later Anakin died after that. I think he died during the Yuuzhan Vong War, which is another amazing story plot that I love, and that I will get into pretty soon. But Jason was so strong, in fact, that he could stop time, and he could do a crud ton of other things that were Force-related that no one had ever known was even possible. And I haven't read much into what he could do, but I know he could definitely do it. Whatever it is that he did. So, on to the Yuuzhan Vong War, which is one of my favorite stories, and I've actually done quite a bit of research into this. So let me explain what the Yuuzhan Vong is, or what they are. So the Yuuzhan Vong are a race of alien creatures that are from a planet that has completely cut them off from the Force. They neglected the health of their planet so much that the planet actually died and their connection to the Force was lost. So they are the only things in existence that do not have a connection to the Force other than this kind of weird animal thing that I don't remember the name of, but it cancels Force ability. But these creatures were completely cut off from the Force and had legit nothing. But because they were cut off from it, neither the Jedi nor the Sith could actually sense their presence. And they decided that they were going to go and conquer all of existence. So that's how the war started. Now, what's interesting is the Yuuzhan Vong have a form of technology that is essentially biotech, which is they don't use technology, but they use things that are biological in nature that is pretty similar to technology. Like, one example is actually this really cool creature called an amphistaff. And an amphistaff is literally a snake that is strong enough to withstand blows from a sword. That's, I don't have the technology book next to me right now. It's halfway across my room, and I don't necessarily feel like getting up to go get it. But, that's what I remember from it. They use a lot, even their spaceships are like that. Like, they have living spaceships that can think and eat, and they live in... I don't actually think they breathe. But all of their technology is really weird and wonky, and no one exactly knows what a lot of it does. And Anakin Solo was actually able to connect with a bunch of amphistaffs through the Force, somehow. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense in my mind, because that planet was cut off from the Force, but it could be that the creatures don't originate from that planet. They were engineered by the Yuuzhan Vong. So there could be some kind of connection to the Force. But he was actually able to command these amphistaffs to create a suit of armor around him to withstand a lot of physical punishment from the Yuuzhan Vong before I think he was finally taken down and knocked out. But the Yuuzhan Vong were crazy strong, and they actually took over quite a bit of planets before the war was eventually stopped. And I think Jaina was the one that ended it. I don't actually remember who ended it. But I know it was one of the Solos. It may have been Anakin, it may have been Jaina. I don't actually think Jason did much in this storyline. And then there's also the Siru V storyline, which are dinosaur aliens. That had the ability to actually steal the Force from people, and they did this with a kind of device that they would strap you to, and that was what my torch was on. They would strap you to this device, and it would literally suck the life straight out of your body. It would absorb all the midichlorians. It would take out legit everything. And so let me refresh this real fast. How long have we been going for? An hour and 4 minutes. Cool. So, I don't know much about the Siru V storyline at all. I really focused more on the Yusan Vong and the main storyline. But the Siru V, it actually does interest me a little. Excuse me. And I still kind of want to read into it a bit more, but I don't have the means to do that as of right now. But as soon as I do, I definitely want to read some more. I can't get that coal, it saddens me. I'll come back to it later. I will definitely get back to the Siru V storyline at some point in my life, because that's actually one I do want to learn more about. So I guess now would be a good time to start explaining some of the fun stuff, like alien races and different kinds of technology and all sorts of the technical parts of Star Wars instead of the storyline. So, like, we won't give you too much into the storyline in case you want to go watch it for yourself, but we can give you some pretty cool little details and fun facts about Star Wars, about technology and alien races and stuff that exist within canon. Or that did exist within canon. So, where do you think would be a good place to start on that? Are you still here? I'm on fire.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, did you, do you have any ideas about where we would start in this instance?
That's a good question, actually.
I would like to not be on fire anymore. We could start with alien races or technology, like ideals, really anything at this point. Because I do actually kind of want to get into talking about lightsabers.
I'm trying to think. I don't know exactly. Actually, do you remember that, like, Star Wars: The Clone Wars book that we got from the book? Where is it?
The book that we got from the book.
It's like the Star Wars: The Clone Wars. The book that we got that had all, like, the aliens and, like, characters and stuff from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated.
Oh, yeah, and I also have one that's from canon as well, the species book that explains not only the Clone Wars stuff, but also the stuff from Legends.
Ah.
So, do we want to start with alien species?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say my favorite alien species is definitely the Ithorians. And I'll explain what Ithorians are. So Ithorians are this weird kind of race of alien creatures that kind of look like a hammerhead shark, but they have two mouths. They have one mouth on each side of their neck, and I would pull up a picture real fast, but I don't have one. But Ithorians, the reason they're my favorite is because they're pacifists for one. They do not like fighting, and if they do fight, it is strictly because they believe it must be done. And there actually are a few Jedi Ithorians that I can name. Like, actually, did you know General Grievous, to get one of his main 4 lightsabers, he killed an Ithorian Jedi? That's just a little tidbit of information. I definitely gotta say Ithorians are my favorite race. Alright, your turn.
Trying to think. I don't. My favorite one. Uh. Uh. Um. Not sure actually.
Okay, how about then one you really, really remember and liked seeing? Oh, flip, what was that noise? Scary.
Rodians, I think. Oh, we have a message in the chat. Um. Hmm.
You said Rodians? As in the green ones, like Greedo?
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't really have a reason. It's just I do.
That's fair. Yeah, that was close. Let's see. The only other race I can really remember having, like, a fondness for was the Yuuzhan
Check the
Vong.
chat.
What?
I said check the.
Ow. Okay, hold up. Okay. Yeah, really, the Ithorians and the Yuuzhan Vong are the only ones I can actually think of really... Darn you, Lava. Darn you. I can really think of right now. That were my... Ah, I'm on fire! No! Stop burning, please. Ow. Fire. Oof. Demon Slayer, check your phone real fast. Wah! But yeah, those are the only 2 I can think of right off the bat. Since I don't have the book right next to me, I can't think of anything else. Where did I come from, actually? Where's my, portal? There it is. So now, I'm just gonna say, let's get technology out of the way, because this is the part I'm most, knowledgeable in, is the technology of Star Wars. So technology-wise, I know a fairly decent amount of stuff about lightsabers in general, because lightsabers are one of the most prominent things in Star Wars. So, about a brief history of lightsabers. This was extremely interesting to me because of how I actually learned how to fight. So, in the beginning of it all, when they first found out that about the Force and like first discovered how to use it and stuff, it was actually, I am out of storage space. Cool. So it was actually, it started, or the first lightsabers weren't lightsabers at all, actually. They were, normal weapons that were imbued with the Force that kind of gave off this colorful glow. And the color wasn't really associated with anything other than the fact that it was just imbued with the Force at this time. Color does mean something now, but, before this time, it really didn't mean anything other than it was imbued with the Force. So, lightsabers came around